Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Rob Grimshaw. I'm the CEO of TES. I think I'm like the 73rd or 74th speaker in the thought leadership stream, which might explain why there's audience fatigue. Maybe there's just been too much thought leadership for the whole event to bear. But anyway, we're going to plow on, and thank you for taking some time. When I think about thought leadership, I think about actually what's on the mind of head teachers, and every single head teacher or school principal or school group executive that I speak to around the globe pretty much says the same thing, which is they struggle to find great quality teachers and retain them in their organization, and it's the most important single thing to their institutions. If we're looking at it from the perspective of the school leader, then actually it's all about teachers, and TES is all about teachers, and I'm going to talk a bit today about how we as an organization are helping school leaders find the talent that they need in order to run their organizations successfully, and how we're going to help them deal with some of the challenges to come, because the challenges are only going to get worse. There was a UNESCO report 2 years back which looked at the need for teachers globally over the years up to 2030, and they estimated that the whole globe needs around 69 million new teachers over that period of time in order to meet the growing demand for education, both in the developed and the developing world. Now, there's only about 70 million teachers in the world at the moment, so that's a huge requirement for teachers, and it's going to put pressure on education systems all over the world, and we at TES are going to do what we can to help school leaders deal with that challenge in the years ahead. Now, before we talk about that, just a quick overview of the organization. We actually have two brands within the company, TES and THE. THE is our higher education business. I'm not going to talk about THE today. We're just going to focus on TES, which is our primary and secondary education business. And you get an idea there of the overall metrics of the organization and what we create with the 700 staff we have around the world. So let's focus in on TES. TES, as an organization, draws in an enormous teacher audience, 10.2 million teachers from all over the world. We have 40,000 new registrations every single week. And we work with 25,000 schools around the world, placing teachers in their classrooms, basically helping schools recruit the teachers that they need. And we are the number one recruitment channel in the UK, but also increasingly with the international school world as well. And you get an idea from the slide of the kind of scale of what we do. Now, how does the organization work? Well, it's best to think of TES as a giant funnel, essentially. And at the top of the funnel, you have a whole load of activities which draw teachers into us. These are generally themed around peer-to-peer, knowledge exchange, collaboration, etc. And they constitute a kind of teacher magnet. One of the best examples of that is our lesson plan sharing platform, where we would, in a term time day, sometimes see over 1 million downloads from that platform in a single 24-hour period. Now, all of that activity at the top of the funnel is fuel for the talent business at the bottom of the funnel. Essentially, we have an enormous and very liquid pool of candidates, which means that we are able to find on behalf of schools exactly the right teachers that they need for their classrooms. And we offer a number of different flavors of recruitment for the schools that we work with. Let's focus in a bit more on different aspects of that funnel. So at the top of the funnel, we believe we have essentially a best-in-class offering. We have tremendous activity on the site. These figures here show our audience growth over the past couple of years, 8.9 million monthly active users. The blue line, which is a little bit squiggly, shows the year-on-year growth. And actually, over that period of time, it's been averaging 20% year-on-year growth. And we have tremendous engagement because what we're offering on the platform is very important to teachers in their professional lives. So one of the prime examples of this is the resources platform, which I referenced a couple of minutes ago. This is a platform that allows teachers to share lesson plans peer-to-peer. Lesson planning is an activity that dominates teachers' professional lives. They're planning and delivering 4 or 5 lessons a day, 5 days a week, 40 weeks a year. This is a massive overhead both for the individual teacher but also for the profession as a whole. So this environment where we have 50,000 teacher authors who are sharing materials with their colleagues worldwide helps alleviate the pressure of that overhead. It means that they can draw on the collective expertise of the whole profession and they don't have to reinvent the wheel every time that they're delivering a lesson in class. Many other things on the platform are drawing teachers in. As I mentioned, themed mainly around knowledge sharing. So we have news, community, we offer teacher training and CPD. And that, this variety of activity is the reason why so many teachers from so many countries around the world come to TES on a daily, a weekly basis in order to help them be successful in the classroom. Now, all of that strength at the top of the funnel means that we can be very effective in delivering for our customers at the bottom of the funnel. And you'll see how the audience that we're drawing in, these figures are 12-month figures, so TES.com in the UK are drawing over 120 million visits over the last 12 months. Outside the UK, nearly 40 million. And all of that translating through ultimately into apply clicks, essentially individual teachers pressing apply on a role that's attractive to them on our platform, enabling us to deliver on behalf of schools around the world which are looking for the best possible teachers for their schools. In addition, we're also building out a scale talent bank. We actually have over 500,000 teachers already in our talent bank. 3,000 sign up every single week on the platform. We don't know of any other proposition that draws in teachers on that scale. Now, as an organization, we've been thinking hard about how we can best set ourselves up in order that we can deliver on behalf of schools. And that's meant looking at how we operate, how we generate revenue. One of the key things that we've had on our mind as an organization is creating a stable platform for ourselves, a platform that then allows us to invest with confidence in tools and features for our customers. Now, actually, that was very difficult historically. We had a transactional model which was highly seasonal. This graph here represents the individual weeks in the year, and it shows the distribution of our revenues through the year over 2 years ago. And as you can see, it's very, very lumpy. And that made it difficult for us as an organization to focus on the things which were important. We had tremendous assets, an amazing brand, great reach with teachers, but we also had these distractions that we needed to deal with. We felt that the best way to fix that was to shift our whole business from a transactional model to a recurring revenue subscription model. And we've been working on that now for 2 years and working on it pretty successfully. So this shows revenues within our core recruitment business and how we've built up a base of recurring revenues quarter by quarter over the past couple of years, and we've been driving that transition at a rate of $4.5 million per quarter. By the end of this year, we'll have a base of recurring revenue of not far off 49 million, and that's a huge transformation for the organization. And if you think about this in terms of the proportion of revenues within key categories, which are now under subscription. Well, in the high school segment, which is our most important segment by far, 67% of the revenues in that category are now under contract. With the international schools, 61%. And in fact, we only started working on the conversion of the international segment just over a year ago. So this has been a very rapid transition. And it's very, very popular with schools. So 43% of UK high schools now are subscribing to the service, which is tremendously gratifying, and also an 88% renewal rate, which is a big sign of faith in the proposition. So all of that work on the revenue generation side of things has created a much more stable environment for us, which then means that we've been able to focus on developing a much more compelling product proposition for the customers. And I'll talk a little bit about that now. What we've essentially done is build out a set of workflow tools that support the whole hiring process. So if historically we were simply engaging narrowly with connecting the schools with the candidates, we're now supporting the recruitment process end to end. So self-service tools, campaign management, online application forms, application tracking, referencing, and these are making life a lot easier for our school customers. And they've adopted these tools extremely rapidly. We have over 10,000 schools now who are using the platform, and very deep engagement in important areas of the tool set. So, for example, 65% of schools using application management processes on the site. The appeal of this is global. We've worked with, as I mentioned earlier, 25,000 schools across 105 countries. The tool set is available to that entire universe of schools, and we've got schools all over the world who are using that full toolkit to make their lives easier. And we're now thinking about the next stage. How do we continue to make life better for our schools and help school leaders with the big challenges that they have around talent? And the key thing that we're focused on is how we can use artificial intelligence to drive a much more efficient matching process. We have enormous amounts of data about the teachers who use the platform. 500,000 teachers signed up in our talent bank. And as well as their career profiles, we have behavioral data for what they're doing on the site, their career preferences, how they engage with our editorial content, and all that is helping us to devise algorithms which figure out which teachers are best suited to which jobs. And we're using that to drive online recommendations. And the next stage is a fully developed self-service product for schools that allows them to go mine our database and find the ideal teachers for their institution based on the enormous wealth of knowledge that we have as a platform. And one big advantage here is that we have trust from teachers and schools. We're fully GDPR compliant. We're very careful with the data. We don't share it with any third parties. And that means that teachers are willing to share a lot of material on the platform. And that helps us do this in a tremendously effective way. And no matter how good the technology is, it's not going to work effectively without the raw materials, the data that goes into it in the first place. So just looking forward, in addition to the artificial intelligence side of things, we have now a clear path in terms of growing the business and the organization over the coming years. As I mentioned earlier, we have over 10,000 schools who are using our platform. We call it the school portal. And on there right now, job promotion, candidate matching tools, substitute teachers tools as well, which I haven't talked about, but an important part of the offering. And the way we plan to develop the organization over the coming years is by bolting on additional tools and services to that platform. Things we've developed ourselves, things that we acquire, and also things that we might offer on behalf of third parties. And everything that we put onto this platform now will immediately have reach and distribution with an enormous footprint of schools that we cover both in the UK and around the globe. So, that's the end of the presentation. We have 25 seconds for questions. If anyone has a question, it's a question.
A little bit more about the subscription model that you have. How did you go about that transition? Like, how did you, I guess, like, keep the minds of customers switch from like the transactional to the subscription?
Yeah, it's a very challenging change. And we decided that we had to be bold about it. There was no point doing it in a timid fashion. So we did go out kind of guns blazing, as it were. Now, what we discovered as we pushed into this was that actually from the perspective of schools, there were some real advantages to this, which we hadn't fully understood when we started. The key ones being certainty. Schools do not have great flexibility in their budgets. They don't have contingencies and things. And knowing that the cost of their recruitment through the year will be one price actually is a big deal. And it's such a big advantage that schools are actually prepared to pay slightly more for it than they had done historically with the transactional model. And schools really like the fact that there are no surprises, right? The other big deal is flexibility. It's an uncapped service. They can put as many roles onto the platform as they want. They can repeat as many roles as they want. And that's a big advantage in a tight marketplace where it can often be hard to find the candidates that you need. Operationally, we put a lot behind it. We have a big field sales team. We spend a lot of time talking to schools to articulate what we're doing and explain the benefits. Cool. So it's a single price for the year. There is a tiering in there. From a commercial perspective, we needed to know that we weren't going to suffer disadvantage, lose yield, as it were, through the transition. So we created a benchmark based on the average 3-year revenue leading up to the start of the transition, and then we measure where we are against that. And thus far, it's been positive for us as an organisation. As schools have come across, they are spending roughly what they were historically, but in a much more advantageous fashion, both for them and for us. It works better all around. You have to forgive me. I've been given a red flag at the back of the room, so we'll have to wrap up at this point. Thank you all.